So I'm here with.
James Titus.
Nice to meet you, James.
Nice to meet you too.
How old are you?
I'm 38 years old.
And whereabouts are you from originally?
Nova Scotia.
Nice. Were you born and raised there?
No, I was born in Ottawa, Ontario, and went from Ottawa to British Columbia, and then from British Columbia to Nova Scotia, and I lived there for 19 years. And I was in active addiction there. For 5.5 years, I was an intravenous user of prescription pills. I got sober, and because I found one of my female friends dead. So I decided to sober up and come to Alberta. I went to Calgary first and ended up homeless in Calgary for 6 months, which led me to slip back into addiction. And then I went from Calgary to Regina, and I lived in Regina on the streets for 3 months, and that was probably one of the scariest experiences of my life. So then I finally broke down and asked my sister in Fort Saskatchewan to come and get me, and I lived there for a few months. And during that time, I met my partner I'm with, and we talked for a year on computer, and then I came here and met her, and we stayed together for 5 years, and I was sober all that time, and then I ended up relapsing due to a miscarriage. And for 3 years I roamed the streets of Edmonton, picking out garbage cans, collecting cans, bottles, anything that I could find to make money to support my habit and to give my spouse money for my children.
So, where would you consider your childhood?
My childhood would be between BC and Nova Scotia.
So how was it growing up there? Because they're kind of two complete opposite places.
Growing up in Nova Scotia was really rough. I was adopted at birth. Didn't find out until I was 16 years old. And I was abused quite a bit as a child, verbally, mentally, physically, sexually, which I believe had a very big impact on why I ended up starting to use drugs, just to numb that pain and to forget about it. Yeah, it wasn't easy growing up, but I survived it. And when I became 15, I decided to leave home, and I've been on my own ever since, and I'm 38 years old now. So, and been struggling with addiction since about 16 years old.
What was high school like?
I dropped out of school in grade 10. High school was really rough. I got beat up a lot and picked on due to my size. Yeah, so it wasn't really easy, but I made the best of what I had. Didn't have many friends, and I have lots of trust issues, so it's hard to make friends because I've been hurt so many times. I've got 6 children, 3 here in Edmonton and 3 in Nova Scotia. So I'm just gradually trying to get back into their lives and be a dad that I want to be and know I can be. So I'm currently living in sober living, which is good. I've been sober for 8 months, so I'm just trying to work the wheels and keep going and try and be the best person that I can be and know I can be.
Do you have any siblings?
I have a sister. She's my cousin by blood, but we don't have a very good relationship. She doesn't agree with my lifestyle, which I can understand. But no, we don't talk or get along at all. So I just avoid that.
So, at what point in your life did you become homeless?
I've been off and on the streets since I was 15. My longest stint of street life has been the past 3 years here in Edmonton. And I can say that it has probably been the most scariest 3 years of my life. I've been attacked with machetes. I've been robbed at gunpoint. I've been lit on fire while I was asleep. I've been attacked with shovels while I was asleep. The streets here are not safe. They're not safe. for anybody that are living out here. Nobody, I don't believe anybody has any common sense or courtesy or care. They just, if you have something they want, they'll take it. Whether you want them to or not, they're going to take it. And they will drag you down as low as they can drag you. Because my favorite comment is misery loves company. So people see you doing well, they want to do anything they can to drag you off that glory train. So that's what I've learned being out here on the streets. And I wouldn't wish addiction, I wouldn't wish homelessness, I wouldn't wish mental, physical, sexual abuse on anybody, not even my worst enemy. And I'm in the process of doing everything and anything I can to try and stop that. I need to be sober first, but people that are addicts will listen to somebody that has been there and done that a lot faster than they'll listen to somebody that reads it from a book. So that's what I want to do. So many people in the city have helped me, so that's my plan, is to help as many people as I can.
And which other cities were you homeless in?
Calgary and Regina and Nova Scotia.
And what's it like in all three, I guess?
Calgary's very resourceful. They have a very nice shelter there, very nice staff. They do everything they can to help you get back into society. They have a condominium for low-income housing. They have a big warehouse shelter that seats probably 400 plus people. They've got a chef that cooks food on the daily for people. You can wash your laundry there, store your clothes there. Regina is the scariest place I've ever lived in my life. People are very violent. They will try and take whatever you have. And Edmonton is okay, but it's still dangerous. It's just dangerous. So that's yeah. I don't want to be homeless anymore. I don't plan on ever being homeless again, and I'm going to fight as hard as I can to stop being homeless.
What led you to addiction, like, at first?
Growing up with a father that was very mentally and physically and emotionally abusive, telling me that I would never be anything. And then finding out at 16 that I was adopted was quite hard. I grew up pretty much thinking what I thought was I grew up in a lie. And so I rebelled quite a bit, and that's what led me to drug use. And then being sexually assaulted and abused and all the things that have happened and come along with it, that's just what led to worse. And then I was sober for 5.5 years when I came here, and then I had a miscarriage with my partner, and I took it very, very hard and got right back into the same cycle, and just went through a downward spiral, and I couldn't forgive myself for the things that I had done. And then I died at Christmas Day, and I said enough is enough, and I've been going strong ever since to stay sober.
Which drug did you struggle with?
My drug of choice is opiates, any form of opiates, heroin, mostly here, because they don't, there's not many pills around here. It's usually heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil, any sort of a downer. So, yeah, anything that would make me not think of what was going on in my head and would numb me for a little bit, that's what I would do.
How were you able to get off of the drugs?
With a near-death experience. I overdosed, like I said, at Christmas Day. I dropped after doing a puff of heroin. I was gone for over 10 minutes. Nobody knew where I was, and then an ETS person found me, and I was gray in color and had no pulse and no heartbeat, and they were gonna just toe tag me and bag me, but the paramedic decided to give me a shot, and he gave me a shot of epinephrine in the heart and brought me back. And they thought that I was going to be a vegetable and be brain dead, but I'm very, very fortunate that the Creator decided to give me a second chance at life, and I'm very grateful for that. And I can't ever mess that up ever again, because you don't get those kind of chances. I feel very special, and I'm very grateful, like I said, for the Creator to help me the way He did.
What type of things do you do on a daily basis to try and keep your mind off of that?
I bike ride a lot. I currently just got myself a bicycle, and I go binning and find different things that I can give to my friends and make money from. I collect bottles. I visit my children on the regular and play with my children. I have 3 boys here.
How old are they?
10, 7, and 3. And they're my world. And their mother is my best friend. And I'm currently trying to get back in the doors there so I can, be, like I said, the amazing dad that I know I can be, and that I have been in the past before I relapsed. So.
What type of things do you find while you're binning?
All depends. Sometimes I can find cash. I find jewelry, I find watches, I find computers, I find laptops, I find bike parts, I find instruments like saxophones and different types of things like that. Clothing, high-end clothing, purses, high-end purses. But I think my most high-end item that I found was a $25,000 Rolex, and $1,100 cash, both in the same bin in the same day. So.
And it was just in a garbage bag?
Yeah, it was just in the garbage in the West End, right across from the brew house in Winterburn. So that was my day. I jumped out and I ran.
Wow.
So. And I find gift cards, like vanilla prepaids that people throw away and forget to spend the money on them. I find gift cards for food. And most of the time what I'll do is I don't even use them myself. I'll just give them to other homeless people to help them. So that's what I believe that is the right thing to do. And that's what, in the 12-step program, we believe that the only way to keep what we have is to give it away. So I do whatever I can to help people realize that the sober life is so much better than the homeless drug addict life. I don't judge anybody, but if I can do anything or say anything to somebody that would put that little bird in their ear to maybe say, hey, he's saying the right thing, maybe I should do this. That's my goal.
And what happened to your leg there?
Last winter, I was sleeping in my camp, and I had kicked an individual out of my old camp for stealing my laptop that I had built from the garbage, and he had sold it for drugs. And I got quite upset about it, and we got into a confrontation, and he came back when I was asleep and poured gasoline on me in my camp and lit me on fire.
Wow.
And I got 3rd-degree burns on my legs, and it took over a year to heal.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
What are some of the craziest things you've seen here in Edmonton?
I've watched my best friend get beat to death out front of the Hope Mission over heroin. I've seen people get stabbed on the bus over drugs. I've seen people get beat nearly to death numerous occasions at the Bissell, at the Hope Mission, at the Herb Jameson. And the way that society treat the homeless, I think, is absolutely disgusting. And I think that if they just took the time to sit down and talk to a person, they would really actually realize that we're only people that have had a lot of trauma in our life, and sometimes all we know is to use drugs, and we don't feel like we have anybody to talk to. And when people are looking at you and judging you and putting you down and belittling you and calling you a junkie and calling you a thief without even knowing who you are, how do they expect somebody to climb up from that when they're doing nothing but beating them down? And I just wish that there was more people out there that weren't so judgmental, because if there was more people kind-hearted and open-minded, this world and this city would be such a better place.
I agree. And what do you think are some things that could be done to help the homeless here?
Definitely more housing programs. Definitely more treatment centers. Or we have this big remand center right behind us that is empty, not being used for absolutely anything, with God knows how many beds in it that could be used to house the homeless, to rehabilitate the homeless, to give the homeless a chance. And it's just sitting there. And I think that if they turn that into a shelter or some sort of a rehabilitation center, it would benefit so many people. I've had friends freeze to death last year outside because there was no rooms in the shelters, and they just turned me away. And I think that if they were to open this building or do something, do bottle drives and give the money, buy clothing, give more clothing, like the Hope Mission, they have so many clothes and so many things at the Hope Mission, and they discriminate. They discriminate against people, and they only pick and choose who they want and who they do not want to give things to. And I think it's sad. I think that we should all be treated equally, no matter what the color of our skin is, no matter what our past is, no matter what we've done wrong. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Even the Lord Jesus Christ made mistakes. And I just think that if more people would help more, it'd be a lot easier than it is.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem.